Since the invention of the internet and people's constant search for truth, the world is now completely free of misconceptions. No, it's not. Welcome to Genshin Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. And today, we're going to talk about the top 5 plus 1 misconceptions in Genshin Impact. Number 1 is the wishing system, and specifically people's advice for it. They tell you don't build pity. Well, I'm going to tell you that there's 2 kinds of building pity. The bad kind is where you just have no self-control. You're waiting for the Archon, so you put a few wishes on this banner because you can't wait, and you're like, I'm building pity for the Archon, and then you get an early Nouvelette, and you're like, man, now I can't get the Archon. That's the bad kind of building pity. The good kind of building pity is you're like, well, I don't really want Nouvelette. I kind of do, or I do. I kind of want Hu Tao, but I don't like really want her, so I don't want to like wish for it, but I really need a copy of Xingqiu and a copy of Fischl. And you're on your 50-50, and so you put 10 or 20 or 30 extra wishes to try and get and just snag a copy or 2 of those characters. And if you don't get them, you stop, no big deal. And if you do get them, then great, you got some great 4 stars and you have built pity for the next banner. And if you get an early copy of a 5-star, like an early 5-star, there's a 50% chance it won't even be the on-banner character, and now your next character is guaranteed. And if you do get them, it's only 10 or 20 wishes, and just make sure if you do this that you do at least kind of want the 5-star, that you at least would build them if you got them, that it wouldn't be a total waste. This isn't number 2 yet, but while we're on the subject of the pity system, there's a little bit of misconception about when the pity actually starts. I see so many people talk about how, you know, hard pity is at 90, which is true, and soft pity starts at 75. It actually starts at 74. So if you're wishing right up to that 74th wish, just be very, very careful. Like if you're building, I really don't recommend building pity up to that high, but be very careful when you get to the 74th wish, because that is actually when soft pity starts, and every wish after that gets more and more likely to get a 5-star. I think the majority of the time you get one at either 78, 79. The final one is a question I'm going to put out to you guys, and that is, does early pity exist? I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it's more likely to get a 5-star in the first 10 or 20 or even 30 wishes than it is to get from 30 to 74, but I actually don't know for sure if this is actually something that we're pretty sure is true, or if that's a misconception. And despite my research, I have not been able to get conclusive proof. So let me know if you have it. Number 2 is the idea that you should always go for new characters instead of getting constellations or weapons. Of course, if you're brand new, the most important thing is to make sure you get your favorite characters. Until you have your favorite characters, and I would argue you have some great teams for those favorite characters, you should prioritize new 5-stars. But once you do, you can take a look at your account and say, hey, what do I need more of? Do I not have enough Favonius Lances? And do I want a Homa for my Hu Tao? Do I have a Catalyst that can use this? Because if you enjoy the combat system, it can really improve your quality of life to have a few 5-star weapons, to have a low constellation for your favorite character. It can make the game more fun, and that's what the point of the game is. If it can also be more fun to get a new character and to try a new playstyle, that can be more fun too. You have to determine what's going to be the most fun thing for you. It could be that a really good weapon banner has, you know, Favonius Sword, Favonius Lance, is just going to enhance your account so much. Plus, like, you know, in this scenario, you also want both of the 5-star weapons. It could really enhance the fun you have on your account by wishing on the weapon banner. But don't think it's so simple just to say, oh, always go for new characters, because it's very easy, and tons of people have this experience. They just have a backlog of 5-star characters that you can't build. It's like having a backlog of video games that you never play, or a bookshelf with tons of books that you have that you've never have time to read. It can be more worth it to vertically invest in your favorites than to just keep getting more and more 5-stars, especially if you don't care about them. But if you're a collector, you know, that's a totally different thing. It just depends on how you want to play and how you have fun. Number 3, they say you need a DPS character or just a character of every single type. This is an idea sort of left over from other JRPGs or other turn-based systems or things like that, where it's very valuable to have every single type built. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to always have the elemental check that's good for the Abyss. And I think that there are certain elements that are especially good to have. So for example, having someone like Nahida, sometimes they have those hydrolectors in the Abyss. These guys are super cringe, and it used used to be that cryo was the best element to deal with these, but now actually good dendro application is by far the best way. These guys just melt the dendro application. And actually currently, with the way that the current bosses are in the game, you actually don't need a cryo character at all. So cryo is actually an element that you can skip. I'd say that hydro is an element that you don't want to skip out on, especially in Fontaine. They seem to be releasing a lot of pyro shields, so having a hydro character, Yelan or Xingqiu or Novelet, are really worth building it just for their type. Electro is one that I could go 50-50 on. It is really nice to have Electro for something like the algorithm of semi-intrinsic matrix of overseer network, but I think it's more likely that you're just going to end up building an Electro character because they're strong, whether it be Raiden, whether it be Kuki, whether it be Fischl. You're going to be building an Electro character, so I don't think you really need to focus on, getting an Electro character, because more than likely you're going to be building a Fischl to support just like your account overall, because she's such a splashable sub DPS, and Kuki and Raiden are so good in Hyper Bloom. Raiden has a bunch of other good teams, so more than likely, because you don't really need Electro just to deal with that boss, but you're probably going to be having Electro regardless. For Geo, well, it can be nice to have a Geo character in the ranks for something like the Golden Wolf Lord. Even an Ing Wong with Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer can give you enough Geo to take care of it and then just support your attacker if you have a 3-man core like Hu Tao or Hyper Bloom or something, or a splashable character like Zhongli or Yun Jin can also be enough. And even using high elemental application characters like Xingqiu and Nilu's skill are actually able to deal with it without even needing a Geo on your team, which is something that people don't realize. So there's a lot of ways to overcome elemental checks without actually needing to build a character of every element, especially you don't need a DPS character of every element. If you want to get, some off-field elemental application of every type, I think that might be a better goal, but you definitely don't need a DPS of every type. Anemo itself is not an element that you need to build, but the specific utility that something like Kazuha or Sucrose or Venti provides is how strong that their grouping is. So you don't need to focus on, I need an Anemo character. I see this all the time for new players. Oh, I'm going to get Wanderer because he's Anemo and I don't have an Anemo. I'm going to build Jean because I don't have an Anemo. It's not really Anemo that's good, and it's really the utility that they provide, the grouping, the buffing. Similar, it is really nice to have a Pyro for those Cryo Lectors, and it is very valuable. You can get away with Electro for those Cryo Lectors, but I think that just having someone like Bennett is so valuable because of how strong he is. So basically what I'm saying is, if you build strong teams and you build out your strong characters, you don't need to worry about having a character of each specific element, and you're going to be better off just building strong, solid cores for your characters rather than trying to focus on building at least one character of every element. Because if you build one character of every element, then that's great, but if they don't actually work together, if they don't actually synergize together, then what are you doing? And if you don't think this is a real thing, just take a look at Twitter with new Genshin players. Just take a look at Hoyo Lab. This is a real thing that lots of people make the mistake of doing. Number 4, the game is easy. For players that are very good at the game, yes, the game is easy. For players that know a lot about the game, yes, the game is easy. There are so many systems in the game that for a new player who's never experienced before, like the artifact system, all these different stats, how they roll into random stats, talents, constellation, different types of weapons with main stats and sub stats and refinements, and so many different types of weapons, so many different types of characters. The characters do different things. Some are on field, some are off field. It is completely overwhelming to the vast majority of players, and they do not ever spend the time, like just the fact that you're watching this, like I'm kind of preaching to the choir. You're obviously seeking out information to learn about the game. But for people who don't learn about the game, it is very difficult just to get that baseline knowledge. And even once you do, it can actually be somewhat challenging to properly build out your account and not farm too much artifacts, to not farm too little artifacts, to make sure that you're doing the right talents on the right characters, on the right teams, not spreading yourself too thin, not spreading yourself too narrow, building teams that synergize with each other, using teams that synergize with each other, actually playing the teams well, making sure you have enough energy recharge. There's a ton of ways that you can fall off and miss the boat and just not play the game well, and the game becomes very hard as soon as you don't play it like that. The amount of accounts that I have gone on and just like switched some weapons around, switched some artifacts around, switched some teams around, and all of a sudden, bam, their account goes from not being able to 36 star to being able to 36 star. Just imagine what it's like for the casuals out there. So no, I don't believe the game is easy. You're just very hardcore, and a lot more hardcore than you think you you are. Kind of related and not moving into the next, so I'm going to keep it within the same bubble, is that spending money either makes the game more fun or that it ruins the game. I think the real true answer is that it depends. For me, I have the most fun in two ways. I really like how I'm playing now, which I set a restriction for myself that I can't get any 5-star constellations. I can only get C0 of every character, and then I do get some 5-star weapons to test them. I find this restriction very fun. I also think it's really fun to just buy the battle pass and just buy the Welkin Moon, so you at least are not starved for resources. You can have fun building and experimenting characters without being too restricted. I also think it's fun to just be an occasional Welkin player. I also think it's fun to just be a free-to-play player. I am not so sure if I agree that it's fun to be a whale. I think it's fun for a certain type of person. I like a bit of a challenge, so when the game gets too easy, I personally don't find it fun. That's why I don't cover any whale stuff on this account, but I know a lot of people do have fun with it, as well as I know a lot of people who kind of wish they could undo those constellations, that the game is sort of now too easy, but I know a lot of people who do still have fun with it. So it also costs really a lot of money to whale, and there's no way to undo it. So I don't think that spending on the game makes it more fun. I don't think not spending on the game makes it more fun. I think you have to sort of define how you have fun. I would start by not spending money, maybe getting the occasional Welkin, the occasional battle pass, not doing any top-ups. I think that's probably the sweet spot for most people, but I think sticking for free to play is a really good way to give yourself that challenge. But I do find it fun to get a few more characters with the Welkin and a few more resources so that I can have variety in my testing. Before we go into number 5, I want to do an honorable mention, which is something that I've seen pop up on a few videos and on a few subreddits and different things like that, and it's that the new commission system is bad. What? This new commission system is the greatest thing in the world. I don't ever have to do commissions again. I can actually play the game. I don't have to log in and do chores before I get to do the fun thing. I can actually log in and explore. I can log in and, well, the events are still kind of a chore, but when I do the events, I also get commission points. I can log in and I can do my backlog of quests and hangout quests and world quests, and I get commission points. I can play the game right away instead of having to do chores first and then play the game. Oh my goodness. Now, I do understand for people who are like extremely hardcore and extremely completionist, they've already done those things. They've already done the events day one. They've already 100%ed exploring the map. They've already caught up with all their backlog. Well, they don't have a backlog of quests. They do them all right away. And for those people, I can understand it's like you're kind of being punished for already doing that stuff and that you still have to do your commissions. I get that. But this is kind of like, I don't know if it's like justice in a way. No, that's too mean. It's like Genshin truly is catered to the casual player. And if you're the kind of person that 100%s a map and that keeps up with all your quests, you are not a casual player. You're a hardcore player. And you may not be a hardcore meta player, but you're a hardcore player nonetheless. And Genshin, they seem to have this philosophy where they do things to get the casual players to move towards being more hardcore. Because they're like, hardcore people, they're already hardcore. They love the game. We don't need to do anything to please them. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's what they should do, but that's how they see it. They're like people who care about the abyss. They care about the meta. They care about, they're already good. We don't have to do anything to please them. And people that already 100% the map, they 100% all the story quests, they're already good. We don't have to do anything to please them. It's these people that are lagging, that are behind, that are not doing the quest, that are not exploring. They're the ones that this is for, like me. They're the ones that need, extra incentive. I can't remember where it was, but when you do the Archon quests, that you get extra wishes for doing the Archon quests. They need, like, some of my friends, they don't play the Archon quests, but then they started doing the Archon quests when they added wishes in because they needed more wishes. So they're trying to do things for the casual player and to move them towards being more hardcore, or to make those people happier with the game, rather than like my wife, who doesn't have tons of time to do commissions and events and whatever. So they created this system to allow people like that to do both at the same time, and I'm all for it. The final misconception that I want to address, the final myth, is that X character, whoever that may be, is good, or that X character is bad, or that X character is mid. And this is, it's kind of a cheating one, because it's sort of just directed everyone. I'm just like taking the easy way out. I'm just saying everyone's wrong. But it's kind of true. And I'm as guilty of this as anyone. When I say that, Linny is worse than Hu Tao, it's like, even if that's true, is it really true? Like, it's true in my opinion, it's true in my testing, but oftentimes even myself or other people will speak about these things as if they're fact, or like, Xingqiu's the best character in the game, or Official's the best character in the game, or Yelan's the best character in the game, Kazuha's the best character in the game, Nahida's the best character in the game. It's so subjective, and it's so dependent on what's going on in the Abyss, what other new characters are out, what you need to do. And what you need to do is not determine which character is strongest. I like determining which character is strongest. I like having that subjective opinion. I always call it, I like to roll marbles down a track and see which marble comes up fastest. I'm like this guy. If you haven't watched Fabeka's marble runs, this is like literally me with Genshin. They literally have marbles representing different countries. They race them down a track, all to determine which marble is the best, which marble is king, which marble is world championship. Like it doesn't matter, you guys. It doesn't. And meta in Genshin Impact is like that. It doesn't matter. There's no cash prizes. There's no leaderboards. Those of us that like meta, we just find this fun. And our subjective opinion is so wrong. Like my subjective opinion is that Raiden is a lot better than she probably is for most people, because I've played her so much, because I've invested so much into her. I have this inherent bias towards Raiden because of that. I have an inherent bias towards Nilou, for example. And that's okay. It's okay for you to have your biases. It's okay for other people to have your biases. It's fun. This is where I would make the distinction, and this is where I want to talk about this myth, is that it's fun to talk about meta and talk about which characters are better and worse, but you should never make your pull decisions or your build decisions based on meta, unless I suppose you just find it fun to play only the strongest teams, and that's really truly where you find the most fun, in which case have at her. Hopefully I communicated that clearly enough. It's a little bit of a nuanced discussion. Let me know if that made sense. If you do find that kind of thing fun, you can check out my tier list. It's a little bit outdated. There's a bunch of things that I would change, so don't take it too seriously. I'll link it in the cards at the end. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers. If you want to join, it would be very much appreciated. It really helps us out. If you want to join a great community and talk about your favorite characters, talk about meta for fun, or avoid meta entirely and talk about other stuff, check out my Discord linked in the description. And if you don't want to do any of those things, that's totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.